Facebook Live. Good to be here. Start of another very busy week. What do you have going on this week? I can tell you I've got a lot going on my plate. I mean, I am just recovering from last week where we had a LeadMax event and then was at the Pinnacle Club. Just had a great time that entire day. Great success. And thought I spelled the word environment wrong, but it's actually spelled right. Looks like we have a very loud lawnmower here. I apologize for the loud lawnmower, and I may need to take this indoors, although I'd rather not. So please just tell me in comments when the lawnmower gets a little crazy. That's the lawnmower guy right there. That's what I'm talking about, that. It's one of his compatriots. All right. Hey, folks, I wanted to talk with you about the law of environment. We're going through the laws of growth, 15 invaluable laws of growth. Absolutely important, absolutely critical. And I think that, unfortunately, hey there, Eric, I'm moving this inside because of the obnoxious lawn service. We're going to just move this inside. Coley, get in here. It's my dog, Cole. All right, we're going to quickly plop right down here on my my little jigsaw puzzle. Again, sorry, I wasn't expecting to do this. Unfortunately, I do have neighbors who buy these lawn services, and then they are loud and obnoxious, happen all day long, and it's unfortunate. Must have burst an Edison bulb. Well, that's not too cool. All right, well, let's get down to it, shall we, everybody? All right, thanks for putting up with that. All right, so get that the way I want it. All right, so we're talking about growth, and we're talking about growth environments here today. And I was just doing a little bit of reflecting because I'm still reflecting on the LeadMax event that we had last Thursday. And this was really behind the scenes a little bit. This is the first one where all of the room prep, frankly, I did it backwards. I should have prepared the room. I should have gotten the banners, should have gotten the laptop all hooked up, but there were problems, and I instead worked on preparing the environment, which is the room, and we had a whole bunch of tables in there that were in disarray, and I moved them all and spent a lot of my extra time doing that, and wanted to improve the environment that way. But unfortunately, my friends, I ran out of a little bit of extra time. So did not have a laptop set up, did not have a playlist streaming. Usually what I do is I like to have people from my events coming in, and I have a playlist of our trip with John Maxwell to Guatemala, to Paraguay. I want people to know who John is, a little bit of my association with John, a little bit of the history-making environment that we do. And I don't want to have to tell people. I want to show people. I like the show part of the show and tell a whole lot better than the tell, because nobody wants me to tell them what the heck is going on at all. So that was my growth environment, and I created a growth environment for the people, but I ran out of time. And I didn't have my banners set up until right before the event started. And if you've ever done that before, you know it's a little tough to get those banners set up. You really need to have 45 minutes, an hour left to be able to have them. It doesn't take an hour to set up a banner, certainly. But if you know that there's only 10 or 15 minutes before you open the door, you don't want to be working on the banners 15 minutes before the doors open, because banners are a little tricky like that. So, you know, what that taught me is I have to prioritize. I really need to follow my TikTok schedule for the events that I do, even the small ones. I'm not talking about the Live to Lead event that we're doing in Kennett Square right over the border that you should absolutely be at on October the 27th, which is going to be outstanding, and it's going to be worth every bit of the $500 that it costs to reserve a table of 5 people. I believe it's 500. It may be a little bit more than that, but if I said 500, just reach out to me if you want a table, because this is going to be the best way to be able to learn in a right environment with your team. But not so much about all of that. I really wanted to get into the exercise that I didn't know that I was going to do. It certainly doesn't say to go through this exercise in the book that I just invented, but I decided to take a trip, my friends, down memory lane. And what I did is I created a mind map, and I asked myself, environment, what has been the key thing in the environments in my past that I have done? What were the key differentiators of the types of environments that I have thought about and done? You can see what I did there. I have a tab for the different environments, elementary school and junior high and college, and then some of the mentors throughout my life that I have sought out in different areas. And then I have these questions down here at the bottom that I think are really important. So I'm going to zoom in on them. I think it's really key to think about these questions. And I ask myself, what do I look for in a growth environment? And what do I look for by extension? The growth environment isn't going to be much unless you have someone to learn from, unless you have a mentor. So not just the growth environment, what do I actually look for in a mentor? What are the characteristics of the person that I'm learning from? Is this somebody, do I value sizzle and glam and fancy lights and them being on a plane all the time? Or do I want somebody that's really been, roughed up a little bit by life and has a few wounds and scars to prove it and isn't afraid to be a little bit transparent with me? And part of that is for its own sake, and part of that is I just don't want somebody who's perfect anymore. I want somebody that's really jumped through the hoops and really been beaten up a little bit by life. Because then, frankly, if I'm gonna work with them, if I'm gonna learn from them, they may not beat me up too much if life has beaten them up. I don't know if you've ever noticed the same thing. I don't know if you feel the same way. And then by extension, not just the environment, not just the mentor, but who do I look for in the actual community? I mean, what does that look like? And what's so important about that? What do I want to see in the other people around me? What characteristics do I want from them? Do I want them to be kind of like being in a medical school where everybody's cutthroat and there are only this many openings and you've got this many people and so everybody has to fight? And is it like the TV show Fame from the late 70s, early 80s in a conservatory in New York City where everybody's really mean and nasty because that makes you a better artist? Is that what I value in a community? Or do I want something else a little bit? I know that probably close to about 10 years ago, I was just tired of finding myself in cutthroat communities like the one that I've described. I just came to a point and I just basically said, Nathan, is it really necessary? God, is it really necessary that in order for me to make it in the world that I have to be in just this mean, nasty, cutthroat, East Coast type environment where people are mean and nasty and impatient and fighting and putting themselves first? And what came to me was a phrase, and it didn't make any sense to me at the time. I hadn't met a friend of mine named Bob Hartley who just is all about hope and hope communities and hope people who are hoping together with a faith-based view and supporting each other. But the phrase that came to me before I met Bob and before I've met other people, other great mentors in my life, I came up with this phrase, collaborative community of hope. And I wrote it down. I stuck it to my bulletin board and I looked at it, and it looked so strange to me that it would say collaborative community of hope. And I was like, no, because any kind of good community is going to be a cutthroat community, because then the cream will rise to the top. And if you don't get killed by the other person, or if you don't get thrown in jail for killing the other people and you become the winner. I mean, I never even thought about that. If you're so cutthroat that you either have to kill or be killed, that means that if you survive, you're either going to be on the run, okay, you're going to be running like the wind, like the Christopher Cross song for the border of Mexico to escape the authorities who are coming after you because you've got murder warrants, because you've killed all the other people in your community because you're in a cutthroat environment. I mean, if we're really going to take it literally, I mean, those are the implications of being in a really cutthroat environment where only the strong literally survive. I mean, what are we talking about? Now, like a lot of things in my life, especially before the age of 42, I took it literally. And when people said, it's a cutthroat environment, I wasn't so much looking to cut other people's throats, but I was kind of protecting my own throat. And what's the sense in that? Okay. And one of the great things, I wrote down that phrase, collaborative community of hope, collaborative instead of competitive, community instead of isolation. Okay, instead of practicing your instrument in a practice room without any group interaction, which is not healthy, I have learned. I mean, if you're going to be a pianist, why not be a jazz pianist? Because then you get like a quartet and other things like that, and it's all wonderful. And, it's wonderful. Why not be in a community, collaborative community of hope, as opposed to what, Nathan? Well, how about despair, okay? Would you rather be in a hoping community where people are hopeful and encouraging and empowering, or despairing and the sky is falling, or the world is going to get more wicked, or it's going to get more evil and we're just going to get beaten down more and more? I mean, come on. So when that came out of me, I believe kind of out of my spiritual being awareness, it wasn't really out of my mental awareness, but when that phrase came out of the inside of me 10 years ago, only now do I realize how profound it was. And if you're still watching this right now, if you're just kind of watching me prattle on and on and on, maybe it's because you need someone in your life to let you know that your desire, similarly, for a collaborative community and a hopeful community instead of a despairing community is completely legitimate. And maybe it's because you want somebody to speak life and affirmation into that desire that you have. Well, there you go, Gary. I mean, that's what we're setting up right here, right now. Looks like my wife and I have a collaborative community, but right now she's pinging me with she just pinged me a photo of Smurfette, and I'm gonna show you the little picture of Smurfette because my wife and my dog and I have it. See that Smurfette? Isn't that great? Don't we all need to be in community with somebody that can ping us, text us a picture of Smurfette from the, it was a little inside joke that my wife and I had. She was talking about her job at the hospital and was talking about a nurse, and I didn't hear her right. And I said, what's this about a Smurf, honey? And she said, you silly man, not a Smurf, a nurse. And she was telling me about an interaction with a nurse at work. So that's the inside joke. Now, we all need community. Right now, today at my house, where's my dog? Now, there she is, right there under the table. Okay. So this is my community right now. I mean, you're part of my community because we're doing a Facebook Live, but we're gonna take. Well, we're not gonna go down that low. I'm gonna be careful about the optics here, you guys. But this is what I get to hang out with. Now I have a dog. Okay. I don't know. You see the dog? I can't see the dog right there. I'm trying to give you a shot of the dog. There she is. There's my dog, Cole. So, I mean, I just encourage you to find a community that you can connect with. Hey, Coley. Oh, look at Daddy. Oh, Coley. Oh, Coley. Well, that's what I get is just a wagging tail all day when she puts her head down. The dog really has a unique ability to know when she is being on video, and she does not like being on the video at all. She really does not like it. It's amazing awareness that the dog has, Cole, about when she is going on the camera. So, collaborative community of hope. It's powerful, and that's really what we're creating with LeadMax right here in Wilmington, Delaware, in association currently with the Delaware Public Libraries and Wilmington Public Library, and we have just renewed for another 90 days, and it's just been really a wonderful time. But let's get back to the point here. What do you look for in your growth environment. I mean, I told you a little bit about some of the things that I didn't even feel like I could utter. I didn't feel like I had the right to utter that an environment needs to be collaborative or a community instead of a competition, or hopeful instead of despairing, or just doing what you're told all the time. I don't know, how jacked up my expectations were for me to heap that kind of abuse on myself with such a dark expectation set. And I hope you can't relate to what I'm talking about right now, because it's utterly horrible that one would expect to walk into a 1950s working environment, almost almost a slave master environment. Now, I know that's a little bit of a triggery word, but I can't think what else. I mean, to spend 20 or 30 years in a cubicle, or going door to door, or whatever that one needs to do, under constant threat from yourself, from the demands of the job, from the mismatch between your natural gifts and desires and strengths versus what's required in the job. I mean, that's nothing. That's something that none of us should be doing. I mean, none of us that have a basic work ethic, none of us that have a basic sense of responsibility and a little bit of duty and a little bit of self-discipline should have to endure the expectation that work is going to be a misery and a drudgery and a toil. And my favorite book and my faith tradition really says that God has actually released us from that kind of a curse and has redeemed us from the curse of toil. And what I'm trying to do is partner with God and the universe, or whatever you want to call it, to create an environment where I can grow and I can grow other people and help other people, and help inside of corporations and cultures also, and organizations, to help them improve their organizations too. I think it's very, very important. So let me give you a few things that we can work on here. These are things that you're going to find out in this law of environment. It basically says that growth is going to survive. Isn't that interesting? Growth thrives in conducive surroundings. Growth thrives in conducive surroundings. Now, I almost said, you heard me almost say it, growth survives in conducive surroundings. And that can be the case too, that it can just simply survive. Anita, TEDx Wilmington alumni, my gosh, and amazing professor as well, from a former adjunct professor to a current professor. It's great to see higher education representing here on the Facebook Live. But growth is going to survive and thrive. I said it again. Growth can survive, or it can thrive in the surroundings that you choose. How about that? I'm kind of up-leveling this book. But I mean, let's say that you teach a course, like several of our TEDx surrounding alumni, like Anita and Marla and many other people that we've had come through. Used to be me. I used to teach several courses, and I used to teach not just graduate students, but also faculty. So I would create an environment for faculty. And if you're Nathan, and if they give you a little bit of flexibility in the powers that be, they give you a little bit of ability to create your own environment. What kind of environment are you going to try to create? Well, you're going to try to create a fun and flexible environment. Right back at you, Anita. My gosh. So, it is right there that we need to have the flexibility and the creativity to be able to help other people grow. That's the environment that we're creating with LeadMax right here in the Wilmington Public Library. I mean, I'm putting forth the creativity and the planning and the team building. I mean, I was on the phone with my team for about a half hour asking my team, hey, how did I come across? Because I ran out of time to prepare. I didn't have the normal things, the normal preparation the way that I wanted it. So I got on the phone with my team, and it was a learning opportunity. And they told me how they thought I came across. And fortunately, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was, and it wasn't bad at all. But I mean, isn't that interesting that I thought that I was coming across in a certain way. And I was actually more cogent. I gave a better speech than the more high octane speech that I normally give because I had to slow down because certain things weren't working in the right way, and it slowed me down, and I felt like I was kind of cruising, but what I was actually doing was making a whole lot more sense. Now there are problems with that, but there are also good things about that, so I'm going to try to spit out the bones, I'm going to try to harvest the good, and I'm going to come back extra prepared, but I'm going to come back extra prepared so that my speaking style can make more of a difference. So that's all part of the environment here. Okay. Now I'm going to give you 6 things. Okay. 6. Count them 6. That as you go through this chapter in the book, okay, this is a chapter that those that have come to the LeadMax community, they had the invite to our mastermind group to participate in this mastermind group that we put together, in which we're actually going down for a deep dive. And I'm not taking like a little half-hour speech like I do in the LeadMax, but we're actually one by one, and it's not all one-sided. It's like it's going to be interactive. I'm going to be asking the questions, and they're going to be speaking in this special mastermind group that we put together. But I want to give you the overview of the 6 things that we have an opportunity to change. And it all starts with our choices, okay? If we want proactive change, that means that we change by choosing new choices, okay? We change, we choose the choices, and the choices that we choose determine the change that we're going to have. Now, the first thing that we need to choose to change, the choice that we need to make is ourself. We need to gear back up for a learning lesson, and we need to look in the mirror and we need to say, kind of like I did, get on the phone with our team or get on the phone with the mirror. You can't really get on the phone with the mirror, but look in the mirror and say, what do I need to change about myself? How I show up, the attitude that I bring. What's something else we could change? I mean, you can write them in the comments. What else can we change about ourselves? We can change the gratitude that we hold in our heart. We can change the amount of maybe preparation quantity, or for many of us, it's quality of preparation. Maybe we can just tune in with ourselves for 15 seconds, and maybe that produces better change than 20 minutes of preparation, okay? But we need to bring a better self to the table, and we need to choose to change ourself in some way. That's what I'm doing as a leader, as a curator of these LeadMax events. That's what I'm doing also for our TEDx Wilmington talk tomorrow. I mean, I'm learning from the TEDx Wilmington event that we had yesterday, and whack my knee on the table, my friends. But this isn't the one that we had yesterday, but we had a bigger TEDx event than this one yesterday. We had 12 speakers last week, and I'm on the phone with my team. I'm saying, what can we do differently? I'm also putting together a grid of people that are taking responsibility for critical areas that I'm finding that I'm getting some last minute emails that I don't want to get. And it's really because I, as an operations person, for TEDx Wilmington, I'm not the main person, I'm not the organizer, I'm not the executive producer, but I'm really kind of in the seat of the operations person. If I don't want to be the person that's having to run around at the last minute, I need to step up and find people and give them the ability to step up and handle our registration, our staging, some of the other things that we have to do. So my point is I'm bringing a different self to the table in order to change my environment and give people a better experience, especially for TEDx Wilmington. I mean, we do not have cheap seats in Wilmington, in TEDx Wilmington. I mean, and by the way, the one tomorrow night is on adulting, and those are pretty inexpensive. I think they're $25 for those, and those are a lot less expensive than they normally are for us. So if you want more details, just ping me. I'll give you more details on that. We got to move along here, my friends. Okay, number 2, second thing that we need to change is we need to change our environment, okay? We need to do what I did here and get a mind map out or get an outline out and take a look at it. I'll give you another look. Okay, we need to say, what do we need to see in our environment? Okay, I looked at my mentors. All right, I looked in the environments that I've had throughout my life. I mean, these are faith communities I've attended. Summer camps. Okay, summer camp is an environment. Okay, mentors that I've had my entire life. Okay, and it's interesting because now why did I come up with the phrase community of hope, collaborative community of hope? It's because my entire life I have been serving very high level mentors, and I've been in high level environments, and some of these were really, really cutthroat. Now, I picked AP courses in high school. I picked honored courses in high school without having study skills. I didn't have study skills in high school because I never had to study in junior high or middle school or elementary. Okay, the school that I went to was a different school. And I never had to study, or very seldom. I would get angry when I had to bring home books to study at school, as ridiculous as that sounds. Okay, now that means I wasn't a very growth-oriented person. So why did I then find myself in these cutthroat environments without the coping skills or strategies? And certainly we know psychologically you're either going to blame other people and lash out when you have that level of stress, or you're going to turn the stress and the pressure inward and basically be your own beating boy. What am I beating boy? Whipping boy, beating boy. You're going to be your own whipping person, or you're going to just blame other people. I was just too aware to blame other people, and I did come from a little bit of a faith tradition that was friendly to beating oneself up, shall we say. And I've learned not to do that anymore, but an environment is huge. So I want a growth environment. I want a hope environment. I want leaders and mentors who are hopeful. Okay, I want people that are looking ahead. Maybe they move a little faster than I would like. Maybe I need to be a little more flexible than I would otherwise normally be, but at least they're hopeful. And I can be flexible when I serve a hopeful leader. It's hard to be flexible when you're serving a manager who is despairing and limited thinking and limited availability, and the sky is falling and we can't recuperate and we can't fix our mistakes. Okay, that, my friends, is hard. And that is what I thought a leader was vast majority of my life. Vast majority. And so that's why this stuff is more meaningful to me. Number 3, okay, after changing ourselves, changing our environment, we need to change the people. Consider changing the people that we spend time with, okay? We need to consider changing the people that we're hanging out with and spending time with. And you say to me, Nathan, I can't change the person I'm married to. Well, you could. I mean, and I'm not saying do that. I'm absolutely not saying do that unless you are in physical danger or something like that. I mean, I'm a person of faith, and there's a little bit of a criteria that we have. And by the way, I'm not, putting that on you and putting my values on you. I'm not doing that at all. I'm just saying, anyway, just speaking inside the fold here a little bit, I suppose. But here's what I do mean, okay? I've got people that come to my mastermind groups, and not everybody, I love that people come to the mastermind. I love that they sign up for the next LeadMax. They show up. They don't just sign up, but they show up, and then they sign up for the next meeting, and then they have the eligibility to join one of my mastermind groups. And some of these are premium groups, and some of them, if you come in through LeadMax, it's actually not necessarily premium if you know the secret code that I make eligible, and it's just a little choice that I make. But you know what? Even those people that come to the mastermind group and contribute in the mastermind group, not all of those people are going to be eligible for me to really, solicit their input and to be part of the outer circle or even the other circles that I have. Why? It's because not everybody, think about it, not everybody is really adding value to me or to you. Not everybody in life is adding value to you in the way, here's the key, in the way that you need them to add value to. Now you think about this. The president has the cabinet, okay? Going to talk about the former president because he was more popular than the current one, but President Obama had a cabinet, and I'm trying to remember the people. I'm trying to remember the people in the cabinet. You could just comment on the people in the cabinet that I can't. I know Rahm Emanuel, I think, was his chief of staff for a little bit. Now he's the mayor of Chicago. I know that, but he had these people in the cabinet. Now, my question to you is this. Suppose you had the ability to be a really good chief of staff for former President Obama, okay? But you know what? Rahm Emanuel has already been picked, okay? This is the early days of the presidency of, Obama, and somebody's already sitting in that seat, okay? So do you get to be in the cabinet? And I don't think the chief of staff is in the cabinet. Okay, so you don't need to correct me on that. But if the spot with your skill set and value set and value add set, we'll just call it that, not even skills or values, but the value add seat that you're going to add value. If somebody's already adding value in a critical way for that person that you want to influence, then my point is this, that you have to find another way to add value to that person that has an open seat, okay? Maybe somebody's organizing the staff really well, but maybe you have a really crummy press person, okay? So maybe you have the skills, maybe it's not the number one way that you want to add value because you become the press person and all the reporters are taking shots at you. It's very, very stressful, but maybe if you can do it temporarily, you can get your foot in the door. And you know what? If there's a gap in the press person area, you might just be the press person. Okay, we're seeing that here recently with the current administration. The former press person had so much Saturday Night Live. Got played by a lady, Melissa McCarthy, because it was so outrageous, and that might have been a reason that he's on the out. I don't know, but and it's a super stressful job. Now, Sarah Huckabee Sanders is the current press person and has been holding up for a while now, actually. And how did she get in there? Well, she filled a role that needed to be filled. Okay, now thinking about your life and my life, we have people in our life and we have needs in our life. And if we're going to be pouring out value, if we're going to be influencing other people, then there's going to be a need. And so the question for you and for me is, what are the seats that need to be filled? I'll tell you one seat that is filled right now with my good friend LaDonna, who is part of our LeadMax community. She's doing a phenomenal job. She also is part of our TEDx community. I saw the ability that she has with content and getting interviews with people without being nearly as obnoxious as I am when I try to get interviews with people. And she kind of has a very similar way of thinking about content and getting it. And she can do what I can't do because a lot of times I'm speaking, I can't be getting the content. So, a lot of times you're going to be attracting eventually who you are and skill sets that you possess. And so that's one seat that I don't really have to have anymore. I'm absolutely amazed by it. What is it for you? Okay. So here's another thing that we need to do. So we need to change the people that we hang out with, and we need to make sure that the people that we are giving time to are in the right seats and are worthy of our time. Because I'm not talking about not being friends with people anymore. I'm just saying that they don't get regular access to critical working time. And when you are self-employed, if you're contracting, then you've got to watch out, because the people that do have full-time jobs, they don't understand the people that, it's like the world of the people like the Jetsons and the Flintstones that actually get a salary and they have a 40-hour-a-week job, and that's what they do. They don't understand the rest of us. I'm sorry, they really don't understand that the rest of us are always on. And it's very easy. This whole idea of work versus personal free time and being on the clock and off the clock, they don't get it. So for that reason alone, we that don't have, traditional environments, that we get to create our own, we get to make 10 times or 100 times if we do it really, really, really well, what we would normally make as an employee because we're able to do the entrepreneur thing well or the contracting thing well. We got to be careful about the people that don't understand that. Okay. I could go into that. I'm not going to go into it anymore. Here's another thing. The level of challenge. Okay. We need to choose an environment with the appropriate level of challenge. Okay. What's an example of this? Okay. So I have been, I'll just say it this way. In my past, I went to a certain level school, and then there was a time in my life where if I wanted to get a graduate assistantship, and I did, and I realized I needed to lower the tier that I auditioned for, and I actually was successful. I went from a top tier school to a secondary tier school, and that was enough to be able to get a nice scholarship and a graduate assistantship. And it was because I chose a different challenge level. Now, preferably you want, and it actually did not end up all that great for me, choosing a lower grade of challenge did not end up well, which is why I as long as it's not cutthroat and unhealthy, I advocate, a higher level of challenge. What else can we choose? We can choose to focus in a different way. We can choose our focus. We can choose our focus and choose to focus instead of in the future. Okay, in 5 years, my 50-year plan. Get out of that. Okay, I used to think that way for a long, long time. Then I joined the John Maxwell team, and then I hung out with a whole bunch of people that are focused on implementing in the now, and they do have a longer range plan, but they're focused on manifesting their long range plan into the short term now by taking action. And that's what we need to choose. Instead of fruitless focusing on just pie in the sky, we need to implement and draw those dreams into current reality. We need to do that now. So similarly, and the final thing, we need to focus forward instead of backward. We want to focus. We need to choose forward focus instead of a backward focus. Okay, we take a brief look in the rearview mirror like I did today. I called up LeadMax team. I said, how did I come across? Here's my concern. I prepared for it, and I was in the room 2 hours early, but I focused on the wrong things in the wrong order, the right things in the wrong order. How did I come across? So I wanted to take a brief look back, and the team assured me, hey, it wasn't as bad as you thought. You look great. It was actually better than you thought. You made more sense than you usually do. You didn't talk too fast for the audience. I said, wow. So then my focus is forward on the next one. And I thought, how do I get new content for the next one? Got to get on Facebook Live. Got to go through this book. Got to say the words. Got to get the phrasing and the messaging. So I want to thank all of you for helping me do that today. Let's do a quick little review. All right. 6 things that we need to choose to change in order to get the change that we want. Number 1, choose to change ourselves. Number 2, choose to change the environment. Number 3, choose to change the people that you spend time with. Choose to change the challenge level. Number 5, choose to change the focus on the now instead of the future. And choose to change the forward orientation instead of a backward or a neutral orientation. And I'll give you a little screenshot of my little thing that I created here. And, I did a little mind map of my environments throughout my life. I did maybe 5-10 minutes. I thought about all the mentors that I have in my life throughout my life and what was similar and different about them. And then I formulated these questions for you. What do I look for in an environment? What do I look for? Who do I look for? Or what do I look for in a mentor? It's really a what, not a who. What characteristics do I look for in a mentor? And then what do I look for in a community? And we talked about how being collaborative instead of cutthroat or even competitive, that was so important to me 10 years ago that I dared to say the phrase collaborative community of hope. And that has made all the difference. Now I have leaders. I've got strong leaders who are on speed dial, like friends of mine, by the dozen. Okay, strong leaders getting the results. Sometimes you pop them in, you see them popping in here on Facebook Live. I'm amazed when they do. These are people that I would have been intimidated by because these are strong driver high D personalities that have amazing results, and yet they're people. And what I've learned by choosing a different environment, a collaborative environment, a hopeful environment, I found other great leaders in those environments. I didn't just find pushover people or wussy people or whifty people or people that were all fly by night. But no, I found great leaders in that environment who got great results at the top of their game, making a ton of money. I found them, and it was because I chose to dare that I could choose a different type of environment. Certainly a high-level environment, but a high-level collaborative environment instead of a high-level cutthroat environment. You know why? Because at 30, at 32, at 36, at 39, okay, my friends, my soul was being destroyed with all of this, cutthroatness and competition. My soul was being destroyed, and I had to realize, you know what, I guess I can't take this, and I need to change my environment, and I need to be a different kind of person. Guess what? It's good news. John Maxwell, learning from him what real leadership is all about. Real leadership is creating a collaborative environment. Real leadership is being authentic, like I'm being to you right now. It's being authentic. It's being transparent about, hey, I'm not Superman. You know what? I've taught graduate school. Hey, you know what? I've written books. You know what? I've spoke on 3 continents. I've taken, professional copywriting lessons from people that have written from the best people on the planet, right? I've done all these impressive things, and you know what? I don't have to be cutthroat. I don't have to be competitive. I don't have to be mean. I can be collaborative. It actually takes more power to be collaborative and to have an environment where people are free to fail in the environment that you create. And that means they go outside the bounds of the environment a little bit. They behave in ways that are a little bit outside of the norms that I desire. And so then what do I have to do? I have to step in with leadership and with empathy instead of a policy. And I have to explain to them why we do things a little bit different. I mean, I was doing that on Thursday a little bit here within our own growth environment. It was actually great for me because it showed me a couple things that I can do to show instead of tell. And those things are going to be played out tomorrow in our special TEDx event. So anyway, hey, guys, I have a few little surprises that you're going to see here in the next, maybe later today or tomorrow. So be on the lookout. And when the surprise happens, I would love and really appreciate if you help me kind of share the surprise, because it's the kind of thing, if you share and blast your own surprise, it's kind of like less impactful than when other people share the surprise. So I'd love it if you shared the surprise once you find out what the surprise is. I really think it's worth celebrating. It really does have to do a little bit with exactly what I was talking about a minute or two ago. So anyway, and if you're local, join us for TEDx Wilmington tomorrow night, Adulting 101 for millennials especially, but I am a 42-year-old millennial, so I'm taking notes as well. And sign up for LeadMax for next month. I mean, we only have a few seats left. We already have many seats already have gone. People have registered. You know why? It's because I wanted to learn and upgrade and up-level the whole LeadMax experience beginning the very day of the LeadMax by driving growth and commitment. So as a result, a significant portion of our room is already filled up. You don't have much more time to register, and there are other great things going on as well. But anyway, you can go to leadmax.me, leadmax.me, and sign up for that. Share this if you're local. If you're not local, share it, spread it, and you're part of our online LeadMax community. Even if you're way down in South America, like Eric is. Or anyone else. Not too many internationals here today, but it's all good. I want to thank you for taking this journey with me, and I don't take it lightly that you spend the last 45 minutes with me here in this Facebook Live, and I'm really looking forward to connecting with you on future Facebook Lives in the future. Take care, everybody.